So it must be Monday, and so I'm here again to review. Hopefully this time I won't keep you as long as last week. I got carried away and it went over, and so it cut off and didn't even get to have our ending reading. But this week I did pick one out, and so last week it actually didn't really even matter that it cut off because I didn't even have one picked out. I was just going to pick randomly. But besides that, this week I'm going to be reviewing Miss Pergrine's Home for Particular Children by Ransom Riggs. And this was published in 2011, and its sequel was published in February of this year, 2014. I only recently picked it up, and it definitely was not what I was expecting when I first picked it off the shelf. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be more along the lines of, you know, the Ghost Hunters type thing, if that makes sense, you know, where they go and they fear spirits, but it's definitely not that. I did have a little bit of a problem with the first part just because when I did start reading it, I started reading it. I was really into it, and so I got a little confused because I didn't actually read the back. So I didn't know that the main character was male. Because they do say his name in the first part, but it's one of those things that I kind of just glossed over as I was reading because it was spelled odd, and I just passed it off as a pet name, his grandfather calling him a pet name, or at the time I thought her. And so it doesn't actually mention his name until page 26, and it starts out when he's young, and so you don't actually know his name really until he's in his teens and he's working at his job, or at least that's the way it was for me. It was really silly because and I know how it happened because the cover has a little girl on the front. And so I didn't read the back. I didn't know that the main character was going to be male, and it's in first person with eyes. So I didn't actually know that he was a she until page 26. But that's only a minor point. Just so you're aware, the main character is male. So don't get that in your head when you're first reading. Now that I know, and as I was reading, I got used to the fact, and I even started picturing him as male, and he started getting his own characteristics and stuff as I continued to read along. But it was still odd at the first part because it was distracting, and I was like, oh, I really did that in my head as I was reading. I made the main character female instead of male. So anyway, besides the point, that was only one thing that happened. Other than that, the story itself is really good. And it is his first novel that he did. He mainly works in screenwriting. He has other novels, but when this one came out, it was his first. And so it's really well written considering that. And I had a few points. I've been actually talking about it to my family quite a bit, but I'm not actually sure how much I'm going to go into it. I definitely don't want to give anything away. So the first half, it starts from when he's young, and then it goes until he's 16, and he starts looking for information about his grandfather's life when he was younger, and because his grandfather was very important to him when he was growing up, and his grandfather would tell him these fantastic stories of about very interesting kids that he grew up with when he was younger. And at a young age, he believed a little bit in these stories, but then, as he grew up, he believed less and less. And And so that's the basic story. It goes through his travels as he's going. And so there's that. I mean, a lot of people call it creepy. I didn't really find it creepy. I guess that just depends on your tolerance. Throughout the entire book, it has pictures, and I'll explain some of those a little bit. I'm not in full detail. I mean, let's see if, there's one of the pictures. I got it right there. Yeah. So, anyway, the only thing that really got me was, as it got toward the end, I felt like descriptions lessened near the end. I felt like it even though it's still a really good book, I really liked it. It's just I felt like near the end it could have been described more, and there could have been more stuff put in there for it. But I mean, if you have a really good imagination, you don't giantly need it. But I prefer to have a little bit more structure, so you know exactly what the characters are doing precisely. And I think the other thing that was a problem is he set himself up for lots of characters. And so when I was first reading it, I was thinking a lot more than because he never actually gave numbers of how many characters he actually had until near the end, and then it's like only 10 or something like that. Excuse me, only 10 or something like that, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was imagining a lot more than that. I mean, so I think it could have described that a little bit better, because he didn't introduce all the characters. He only introduced a handful of them, and then so we're left to just wonder. And then also, it would have been nice, too, if he would have described exactly how much space the house had, because that would also give us an idea of how many kids lived there. So that was a little kind of distracting throughout the near the end. It's near the end. I mean, he could have introduced a little bit more into the middle, but it's really near the end that it slowly goes downhill. But I mean, it's still a really good story. I really enjoyed it. And I haven't gotten to reading the sequel yet. I own it, and it's not here. I think it's upstairs right now. But and I definitely say that you kind of need both, because the first one kind of ends off on a cliffhanger, and the second one picks up pretty much where the first one leaves off. And I haven't gotten through it very far yet, but I only read the first page or something like that. But yeah, that's that. And I'm just gonna read this to you. All the pictures in this book are authentic, vintage found photographs, and with the exception of a few that have undergone minimal post-processing, they are unaltered. They were lent from the personal archives of 10 collectors, people who have spent years and countless hours hunting through giant bins of unsorted snapshots at flea markets and antique malls and yard sales to find a trend. I know it, but I can't. Come on. Well, I know the word, but I can't say it right now. I'm real sorry about that. Rescuing images of historical significance and arresting beauty from obscurity, and most likely the dump. Their work is an unglamorous labor of love, and I think they are among heroes, are the unsung heroes of the photography world. And then it lists all the collectors. part of the page and then a whole page. So I wanted to read that to you. And then, alright, and then there's this. This is part of the interview, and on the question is, can you tell us how you came to write this book? Which came first, the story or the photographs? And then the answer is, I have no idea where most of the ideas come from, but Miss Pergrine has a very specific origin story. A few years ago, I started collecting vintage snapshots, the kind you find in loose piles at most flea markets for 50 cents or $1 a piece. It was just a casual hobby, nothing serious, but I noticed that among the photos I found the strangest and most intriguing ones were always with children. I began to wonder who some of these strange-looking children had been and what their stories were. But the photos were old and anonymous, and there was no way to know. So I thought, if I can't know their real stories, I'll make them up. The photographs came first, but I never stopped collecting. Even as I was writing the story, I was finding more photographs to work in. Ultimately, the photos and the story influenced each other. Sometimes I'd find a new photo that just demanded to be included in the story, and I'd find a way to work it in. Other times I'd look for certain types of photos of a photo to fit in the story, to fit in a story idea I had. It was a fun, strange, organic writing process, unlike anything I had attempted before. So that's it. I definitely suggest this book. It was very good, very gripping. I don't know what else more to say. It's intriguing. That's a good word. It's intriguing. And it's very interesting to look at the photos and how he works them into the story. And, I mean, there's a lot of them. I think it mentions there's like over 50. And he wasn't able to use all the photos that he would have liked to use either. So, I'm going to do a reading. I feel like I'm reading a lot today, because this has a little expert. Okay, this is by Robert Louis Stevenson, and I'm actually going to read a little bit before it, a little trivia here. Although Stevenson had written tales and travel books, which had been well received, it was not until the publication of Treasure Island in 1883 that he became popular. 3 years later, his fame was definitely established with The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. At 35, he published a children's garden of verses, with some misgivings. But the collection Stevenson hesitated to offer to the public had grown to be a universal favorite, second only to Mother Goose in its appeal to every generation. Fighting his ever-progressing disease, Stevenson traveled through America. A winter at Saranac Lake in the Adirondack Mountains gave him a respite, but the following year he grew worse and craved the sea again. He left San Francisco for a voyage among the islands of the North Sea, and what was intended to be an excursion became a voluntary exile. Death found him in Sonoma, December 3rd, 1894. 60 natives carried him to a peak on the Pacific, and there a tablet was placed carved with the lines from his Requiem, which Stevenson always intended to be his I can't see I'm having a hard time saying words. But anyway, and here's the poem, Requiem. Under the wide starry sky, dig the grave and let me lie. Glad did I live and gladly die, and I laid me down with a will. This be the verse you gave to me. Here he lies, where he longed to be. Home is the sailor, home from sea, and the hunter home from the hill. I thought that was interesting trivia. So anyway, I am not sure what I will read you next Monday, but I will figure it out, and I'll probably post something to let you guys know. The link to my Tumblr is always below in the description, and I will post, all these, linked on Tumblr. Other than that, I really don't go on Tumblr very much, so, I'm not going to spam you with tons of junk all the time if you follow me. And most of the stuff that I do or blog are, like the normal, sometimes a cat here or maybe even a dog. Anime stuff, most recently from Free Iwasabi Swim Club, but that's most of the stuff that I'll do. Most of the time, I don't even scroll through Tumblr. If I blog anything, it's because my sister sent it to me through Skype and said, you gotta see this. So then I'll click it up, and sometimes I don't even reblog it. But yeah, I'll post the links to these reviews, and if you actually go on my page, there should be a tag for it. If you type it in, it'll be Monday Reviews by China Doll, and that'll have all of them in there. But actually, it might probably be easier to actually go on my YouTube page, and then you'll see all of them. This is, oh my goodness, this is 1, 2, 3, this is the 4th review, I think. Yes, 4th review that I've done, and I post every Monday, usually in the evening. Sometimes if I get up earlier, it'll be in the afternoon sometime. It just depends, and it also depends on how many takes I have to make, because I can't cut things out. I don't have a video editor, so it's one take, and if I don't like something that happened in there, then I have to completely delete it and do a whole nother round, do a whole nother review just sitting here. Definitely have to work on some cleaning. I'm going to rearrange some things. You actually cannot see the mess, but I can. Just recently, my brother helped me bring down another shelf that he wasn't going to use, and so now I got to put stuff on it. It's all over there. And then, so I've got like a huge heaping pile that you cannot see that I need to clean up. And